All right, so today we're diving into some pretty heavy stuff, right? Lucifer. I mean, you sent us a ton of material, so clearly you want to go deeper than just like the whole fallen angel thing. We're talking ancient texts, mythology, even magic. Some pretty wild stuff.
Yeah, and you're right to be fascinated. Lucifer is one of those figures who's been, well, kind of demonized for centuries.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to try to unpack that, see what makes him tick. We'll be looking at him as the light bringer, the egregor, even a creator god, believe it or not.
Whoa, yeah, that creator god thing definitely caught my eye too. But before we get ahead of ourselves, the source material we're working with, it actually starts way back. Like the original meaning of the name Lucifer, it's Latin, right? Light bearer, connected to Venus, the morning star, hope, new beginnings, all that jazz. Funny how we used to use Lucifer matches, huh?
It's not just a coincidence, though. That connection way back to the morning star, it's crucial. Think about it. So many cultures see the dawn, sunrise, as this powerful time of promise, shaking off the darkness. So Lucifer, embodying that energy, it makes sense that he still resonates with us, even today, maybe even more than we realize.
That's a good point. But then, well, you know how it goes. Things get a little, shall we say, messy. You've got the Judeo-Christian tradition coming in, and boom, Lucifer's public image takes a nosedive. Suddenly he's the bad boy, right? The fallen angel, booted from heaven for, what was it, rebellion. And that's where we get the whole devil image taking root. But looking at all this source material, it makes you wonder, is that really the whole story?
See, and that's what's so interesting. Even in that fallen story, you still have this element of individuality.
Right.
Choosing your own path, even if it means what? Going against the grain, defying authority. It's that independent streak, that self-determination, even with all the baggage, that makes Lucifer such a fascinating figure. It's why even today, you have these occult practices that don't see him as evil at all, but more as like a champion of self-discovery.
Which leads us to what you were asking about Lucifer and magic. It's definitely something a lot of people are curious about. And our source material, it goes there. Talks about rituals, practices, even claims of some pretty wild results.
Okay, but here's the thing, and the source makes this crystal clear. You don't just jump into this stuff. Preparation is key. You need to know what you're asking for. And I mean, really know. We're not talking about lighting a few candles and hoping for the best, right? These are powerful practices. The source is big on safeguards, protection. You don't want to mess around with negative energy.
And get this, the source even talks about Lucifer as an egregor. Ever heard of that?
Basically, imagine a wellspring of energy. But instead of being tied to like a place, it's formed by thoughts, beliefs, practices. Everyone who's ever focused on Lucifer throughout history, all feeding into this thing, like a psychic network, all tuned into this one powerful figure.
Whoa, that's a lot of energy to tap into. So, like, how do you even do that safely? Asking for a friend, obviously.
Well, here's the thing. The source makes it clear. Because this egregor has been absorbing all these different interpretations, right? Good, bad, everything in between for centuries.
Yeah.
It's incredibly potent, but also potentially dangerous. If you don't know what you're doing, think of it like handling nitroglycerin. Yeah? You need to be careful, respectful.
So the takeaway here is working with Lucifer. Whether it's these rituals or this egregor thing, not for amateurs.
Definitely not. This is serious stuff. The source emphasizes dedication, understanding, and a good dose of caution, too. You're not ordering a pizza here.
Speaking of serious stuff, you wanted to know about Lucifer's demon aspect, right?
Oh.
And let me tell you, this source does not hold back.
Yeah, things get intense is one word for it. This source really goes deep on Lucifer as this full-on demon, like a primal force, capable of incredible things, right? Generosity, but also, well, unimaginable suffering. The warning's pretty clear. Approach this aspect very, very carefully.
So it's more than just being careful, right? It's not like wishing on a monkey's paw where you just got to word it right.
Nope. The source makes it clear, this aspect of Lucifer. Less like a genie, more like a force of nature. Powerful and unpredictable, too.
Not a genie you want granting wishes lightly. Okay, so no wishing for winning lottery tickets then.
Well, about that, the source gives this example. Imagine, right, you wish for financial abundance. Seems harmless. But what if that wealth comes from a loved one's sudden death? Inheritance. Not exactly what you had in mind, huh?
Yikes. Talk about your dark side of the law of attraction. So it's about more than just being careful what you wish for.
Way more. The source really emphasizes working with this demonic aspect. It's not about getting what you want. It's transformation. Deep, probably kind of scary personal transformation.
Okay, heavy stuff. So we've got Lightbringer, Egregor, this intense demon energy. Then the source mentions Lucifer the Fallen, same as the whole fallen angel from the Bible.
Good question. And honestly, Source is a little unclear here. It's like Lucifer the Fallen and the fallen angel are basically the same thing, like how the egregore and the demon aspect are connected, but it doesn't really confirm it outright.
So multiple Lucifers, or just multiple ways of seeing the same really complex being.
Million-dollar question, right? Like one of those optical illusions. Two different images depending on how you look. The source seems to be hinting that the whole fallen angel story. Maybe it was meant to discredit older beliefs, ones that celebrated self-reliance, going your own way.
Which, let's face it, kind of Lucifer's whole brand. Makes you think, was he punished for being evil? Or for, like, challenging the system, daring to learn things maybe he wasn't supposed to?
That question's been bugging people for centuries, hasn't it? Rebellion or seeking enlightenment, what got him in trouble? This source, it doesn't give us the answer. Leaves us hanging.
And speaking of things that leave you hanging, creator god, Lucifer as a creator god, that's not just a fallen angel anymore.
That's creating the whole universe, right? Wild, isn't it? The way the source explains it. Imagine our whole universe, just one big experiment, testing out free will, maybe even negativity.
Yeah.
And Lucifer, he's not a participant. He's the one running the show.
Wait, so Lucifer, all darkness and rebellion, maybe he's the source of everything, good and bad.
That's what it sounds like, yeah. And that right there, that tells you how complex this figure is. The source is really pushing us past this whole good versus evil thing. Like, it's too simple for Lucifer.
Okay, this is a lot. But if Lucifer is this all-powerful creator being, why even bother with rituals and magic? Can't he just, like, think and it happens?
See, and this is where it gets really interesting. The source is saying, even with all that cosmic power, Lucifer doesn't, like, interfere directly. Free will, right? We make our own choices. But through certain practices, rituals, he can offer guidance, support, if you know how to ask.
So less about bossing Lucifer around, more about, like, getting on his wavelength, tapping into that cosmic knowledge.
Exactly. It's a connection, a partnership even. These rituals are like a bridge, right? Our limited human minds and his, well, limitless knowledge.
And the source gets pretty specific, too. Instructions, invocations, offerings. But again, preparation is key, right?
Absolutely. This isn't baking a cake. It's about mindset, understanding your intention, and above all, respect. You don't just, like, waltz into a meeting with a cosmic entity unprepared.
Speaking of respect, or maybe lack of it, the source goes into baneful magic. Definitely not your love spell territory.
Whole different ballgame. The source is calling baneful magic powerful, but dangerous. It takes real ethics, responsibility, because you're intentionally using negative energy, targeting someone with it, not something to do lightly.
The source even mentions blowback, which, honestly, kind of scary. What is that exactly?
Think of it like a karmic boomerang. You send out negative energy, it can come right back at you, badly. What goes around comes around, but with, magical consequences.
So it's not just about being safe during the ritual, it's what comes after, too.
Exactly. The source is really stressing baneful magic, last resort, only in extreme situations and with extreme caution.
Got it. Okay, so moving on, the source also talks about pacts with Lucifer. Kind of creepy, kind of cool, right? Making deals with a being that powerful.
Straight out of folklore, yeah.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder, what could you even offer a being like that? What does Lucifer even need?
Right, and the source is saying these pacts, they're formal agreements, like contracts. And you know what they say? Gotta read the fine print.
Always. The way the source explains it, both sides got to bring something to the table. It's a give and take.
So what are people even asking for in these pacts?
Everything, really. Wealth, success, knowledge, enlightenment, you name it. But here's the catch. And the source makes this very clear. It's a two-way street. You're not just putting in an order. You have obligations too.
You don't just break a pact with Lucifer and walk away.
Probably not a good idea.
Yeah.
The source is a little vague on what happens, but
Yeah.
let's just say breaking an agreement with being that powerful could have consequences, big ones, maybe even beyond this life.
Yeah, no thanks. Okay, we've covered so much here. Lightbringer, egregor, demon, the fallen, even creator god. My head's spinning a little.
It's a lot, for sure. But I think the main takeaway is Lucifer doesn't fit in a box. Light and shadow, rebellion, wisdom. He's a force of change, a guide for anyone brave enough to break the rules, find their own way.
Which takes us back to your big question, where does Lucifer fall, good and evil? Yeah, I mean, after all this, I'm not sure there's a simple answer, you know?
Right. That's the thing with Lucifer. You can't just slap a label on him. Good,
Yeah.
evil. The source material makes it pretty clear. Trying to do that with Lucifer.
Yeah.
It's like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. It just doesn't work.
Like those categories, they just, I don't know, break down. Too small for what he represents.
Exactly. And the source even points out our ideas of good and evil, they're not universal, right? They come from somewhere. Our culture, how we were raised, what we've been through, what's evil to one person might be like an act of rebellion to another. Or just, searching for knowledge.
Which, when you think about it, kind of changes how you see that whole fallen angel thing. Was he really punished for being evil or just for questioning things, maybe learning stuff some folks didn't want him to know?
Powerful, isn't it? And that's what makes Lucifer so fascinating. He makes you think about your own ideas, about right and wrong, what you believe.
So maybe instead of asking, is Lucifer good or evil, maybe the real question is, what does he mean to you? What parts of him resonate with, like your own journey, your struggles, what you're trying to achieve?
I think that's the right way to approach it. The source material doesn't hand us the answer, but it gives us a lot to think about. Like an invitation to explore Lucifer ourselves, the myths, the rituals, all the different interpretations, and then, come to our own conclusions.
Like we've been given all the puzzle pieces, but no picture on the box, right? We get to decide what it looks like in the end.
And that's the beauty of it, I think. Lucifer, with all his contradictions, he makes us think about the big stuff. Who we are, what we believe, the choices we make.
That's a great point. So after all this, it seems pretty clear Lucifer is way more than just the devil, right? He's a symbol of rebellion, sure, but also transformation, a guide for people who want to break free, find their own truth, good or evil. Maybe that's not even the right question. What matters is Lucifer makes you think. And after all this time, he still fascinates us.
Absolutely. And if you decide to keep exploring this stuff, just remember, approach with respect. Think for yourself and trust your gut.
Because the answers you're looking for, they're already inside you. That's all the time we have for today's deep dive. Thanks for exploring with us.